This is Mac OS Ken.
Corellium can probably keep on keeping on. The writer's strike brings a couple of Apple TV Plus shows to a halt. And do you know what Webtoons are? It is Tuesday, the 9th of May, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Go to hellofresh.com/MOK16 and use code MOK16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. You can do what Apple does, but can you look like Apple while you do it? That may be a question still up for review. I'll confess this story confuses me. Apple Insider says the software emulation firm Corellium can keep emulating iOS. More specifically, the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals ruled Monday that Corellium's iOS emulation is protected by the fair use doctrine of copyright law, which the report says permits the replication of copyrighted material in certain situations. This is the latest round in a legal fight that started in 2019, though if you forgot about it, that's cool. A lot has happened since 2019. According to Apple Insider, Corellium sells virtualized versions of Apple's products, such as the iPhone, to developers and security researchers. These individuals use the tool to identify software bugs, flaws, and other security vulnerabilities. Maybe Apple thinks it's got that covered. The firm does have an iOS emulator of its own that it makes available to developers. It's also got the Security Research Device Program, which offers special iPhones to researchers for security purposes. And of course, there's the Public Beta Program. That does not do it as far as the 11th Circuit is concerned. Or that doesn't mean Corellium has no right to make an iOS emulator of its own. According to Apple Insider, the appeals court said that Corellium's virtualization software furthers scientific progress by allowing security research into critical operating systems. Also, since it is a functional operating system, iOS is not protected by copyright laws. But it seems the look may be. The piece indicates that there were 3 points being considered by the appeals court: direct infringement of iOS, direct infringement of Apple's icons and wallpapers, and contributory infringement. The 11th Circuit cleared Corellium on direct infringement. As for the icons and wallpapers and contributory infringement, those points have been sent back to the lower court. Apple Insider says appeals courts do that when they think a lower court has made a mistake or did not fully address an issue in the case. Your older Apple gear is suddenly worth a bit more to the Cupertino company. A piece from Cult of Mac says Apple has upped the trade-in price it'll pay for relatively recent hardware. Running through a few changes and starting with the iPhone, Apple's upped the max trade-in value of the iPhone 13 Pro Max by $30. It'll now top out at $630. The value for an iPhone 13 Pro also rose by $30, topping off now at $530. Some iPhone 12 models also increased in value, though the Cult does not say by how much. Moving to iPad, the potential trade-in value for an iPad Pro increased by $25. That brings it to a max of $470. Models of iPad and iPad mini also saw their potential trade-in values increase, according to the report. And if you're looking to trade in a Mac, the max value of a MacBook Pro is up $45, fetching as much as $775 in trade. Mac Mini's maximum value is up $30, coming in now at $405. And iMac actually went down in value, though the Cult did not say by how much. What's cool about Apple's trade-in program is the level of trust and the convenience. That said, would-be sellers can often get bigger payouts through third-party companies or through private sales. If you're looking to go Apple's way, more info is available on Apple's trade-in site at apple.com/shop/trade-in. If you're looking to buy from Apple's Like New site, there's new Like New stuff available. MacRumors says 2023 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models hit Apple's Refurbished store on Monday. Feels kind of quick. The machines have only been out for 4 months. And yet, there they are. Powered by Apple's own M2 Pro and M2 Max processors, the piece says the refurbished models are discounted by approximately 15% compared to the equivalent brand new configurations. Apple tests, inspects, cleans, and repackages all refurbished Macs to ensure they are fully functional and in good condition, and they're covered by a 1-year limited warranty and eligible for Apple Care Plus. The only drag about the refurbished store, availability tends to be hit and miss. But there is a place for the machines in the refurbished store. If you're in the market and looking to save some scratch, could be worth checking out. From value in older things to older things, going to live on a farm. Another piece from MacRumors says the Thunderbolt display and the first-generation iPad Air are both headed to Apple's list of obsolete products. Apple runs a couple of lists for old hardware, vintage, and obsolete. Vintage devices are products that have been off the market for more than 5 years but less than 7. Apple is required to offer support for vintage machines, provided the necessary parts are available to support them. Obsolete devices are products that have been off the market for at least 7 years. MacRumors says products on the obsolete list are no longer eligible for repairs or other hardware service at Apple stores or Apple-authorized service providers. Apple stopped sales of both the Thunderbolt display and the original iPad Air in 2016. Not to freak you out, but that was 7 years ago. The machines land on the obsolete list at the end of this month. More news in a moment, but first a word from HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit and sponsor of today's show. One of my favorite things about HelloFresh is how it got me to try new foods. And it can do the same for you. This month, HelloFresh is celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. They've got recipes created in partnership with chef Surbi Sani from New York's Tagmo restaurant. Not only will they send you those recipes, they will send you all of the ingredients pre-measured and ready to go. And at a savings. Making the recipes with HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% cheaper than takeout. For me, the ingredients were great, the instructions were easy to follow, and the meals were delicious. See what you can make with HelloFresh. Go to hellofresh.com/MOK16 and use code MOK16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. That's hellofresh.com/MOK16 and use code MOK16 for 16 free meals. Don't miss this great offer on America's #1 meal kit. Get free shipping and 16 free meals with code MOK16 at hellofresh.com/MOK16. Apple is expanding its Learning Coach program to 12 more countries. Established a little over a year ago, a piece from 9 to 5 Mac says the program is a free training initiative meant to hip educators to the best ways to use Apple tech in the classroom. So far, just under 2,000 educators have participated in the program, with the door opening to more. In a press release Monday, the company said the next cohort is accepting applications. While currently only open for the U.S., doesn't seem to matter where in the U.S. participants happen to be. Apple's application page says the program includes an online certification course, self-paced lessons, and 2 days of virtual workshops with Apple professional learning specialists. That said, you do have to be a recognized Apple teacher. The company says the Apple Teacher Program is a free self-paced professional learning program meant to support educators using Apple technology for teaching and learning, sort of like a 101 program to the 201 program that is the Learning Coach program. Applications for the next cohort are open until the 30th of May, while Apple does say that the program is opening to 12 more countries this year. It doesn't say when exactly, nor which 12 countries those will be. The writer's strike is starting to take a toll on Apple TV+. The Hollywood Reporter ran a piece last Friday saying that production on the Maya Rudolph comedy Loot has been suspended. Sources told the site that the show shut down after picketers disrupted filming of the comedy. As of Friday, the reporter says production was on hold and that it was unclear when or even if it will resume. If they were shooting, wasn't the writing already done? Well, THR indicates that picketing members of the Writers Guild of America, or WGA, showed up at a home where the show shoots. Sources tell the site that Rudolph retreated to her trailer, unwilling to return to work. Maybe it's shame, maybe it's solidarity. Whatever the case, it seems to be spreading. A piece from iMore says production on the Apple TV Plus dystopian dramedy Severance has also come to a halt. That piece cites a report from Deadline saying WGA members started picketing the New York studio where that show shoots. The International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees and the Teamsters, a pair of unions integral to the show's production, refused to cross the WGA picket, putting the brakes on the show. With already written, though unproduced titles in jeopardy, Cult of Mac ran a piece considering what might make it through production and what might be halted. Sounds like they're guessing, but the guesses are interesting. Season 4 of For All Mankind is said to be in post-production, so the cult figures that should take off or land as planned. Trying is a British production, the piece points out, so Season 4 is unlikely to see any effect. Basically, if a title is in post-production or being produced outside the US, it may be business as usual. Everything else could be stuck in limbo until the strike is over. And finally today, do you know what Webtoons are? Developed in South Korea, a piece from Apple MOSK says Webtoons are short, vertical, full-color comics drawn and visualized specifically for smartphones. And Apple has signed a deal to bring a bunch to Apple Books. The piece says the Cupertino company has inked a 3-year deal with webcomics startup Kanaz out of South Korea, and apparently going global. Apple MOSK says it's thought that Webtoons will be introduced via Apple Books in the US in the near future. The first content to be produced under the deal arrived in Apple Books Japan last month and will be made available across all 51 nations in which the service is available. Not that we'll know what to make of them to start here in the States. Having started in South Korea, one assumes readership there is sizable. A recent survey cited in the report says just under 42% of creatives in Europe consume Webtoons, while in France, it's just under 52%. Meanwhile, here in the States, you got people like me saying, do you know what Webtoons are? Maybe inclusion in Apple Books will raise awareness of the format. Maybe Webtoons will actually serve to remind people that Apple Books is a thing. Maybe the relationship will be mutually beneficial. Maybe we'll find out over the next 3 years. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Go to hellofresh.com/MOK16 and use code MOK16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.